it used to be kind of finger pointing between the clinical teams and the access team. What I think is really amazing about what you're describing with Workflow Builder is the ability to make both teams winners in this equation.
I think there's kind of two big use case buckets with Workflow Builder that I'm really excited and passionate about. The first, and I'll probably get in trouble from our internal marketing team.
Welcome to the party.
Welcome to Unjargoned, a podcast about healthcare workflows that make sense and without all the acronyms. We talk to people on the front lines of healthcare and explore cool workflows that they're using to solve real problems. I'm Angie, product manager at Luma Health. I'm passionate about building solutions that actually work for both patients and health systems. And yapping. I'm extra skilled in oversharing and saying the things out loud that we're all thinking. Over to you, Dave.
Hey, everybody. I'm Dave Smith. I am here for my good looks and charming personality. As Angie mentioned, also really have no filter either. So these sessions are usually to the point, raw. We want to bring you the stories behind the stories of people doing really amazing things to make healthcare work better for everybody.
We've got a real treat today. Stacy Porter is in the house. She's led strategy and digital transformation at university hospitals, and now she's in advisor era and shaking things up across the industry. She's all about human-centered design, building things that actually work for people, and asking the bold questions most folks are too scared to touch. Stacy, we're so pumped to have you. Welcome to the show.
Woo woo! I'm so happy to be here.
Yay! Dave, you can continue.
Yeah. All right. So the most important question, Stacy, before we get going, is if you could attend for a year any band and follow them around the world, all expenses paid, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. Easiest question ever. New Kids on the Block.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
They're the best ever. So I'm a groupie. They actually recognize me, I think, when I see them at meet and greets now. I've been on 5 New Kids on the Block cruises and more concerts than I can count. But it was one of my very first concerts that I can remember when I was young. And then when they reunited, I don't know who's counting, 15, 20 years later, my parents actually surprised me with tickets. All the feelings came rushing back of being like a carefree teenager and best ever. So hands down, so easy.
Who's your main guy?
That's what I was about to ask.
Oh man, they're all so different. I actually love all of them. I was a Joey Joe girl when I was growing up, but really appreciate Donnie Wahlberg, of course, big fan of Blue Bloods, a TV show he starred in and several movies, but they all kind of have their own thing. I think John Knight now has shows on HGTV and he's doing or like renovating farmhouses and stuff. They all have very unique personalities. I've done VIP hangouts with them on the cruise, drinking and things we won't talk about that I don't want documented any further than that. But I'm definitely a New Kids groupie.
How do you rationalize following a band like New Kids on the Block and have transformed that into digital leadership? Does there have to be some lessons there from watching the greatest band to the OG? The Hollywood star, and you have spent your entire career transforming big teams that probably have a lot of stars. So there's got to be something there.
When any blockhead is with the New Kids on the Block, we are in fact transformed. It is a transformative experience. And what makes it that way? It's the environment, it's the people, it's the subject matter. All of these elements you can translate into business and to build, great teams. Digital transformation is taking you from where you are today to the vision of where you want to be in the future. The difference with the New Kids on the Block is it's taking you to a vision of what you used to be in the past, which was younger, less responsibility, probably drank more alcohol, those kind of fun things, right? So maybe transforming in opposite directions, opposite elements of time, but the principle is still the same.
There's a lot of symmetry, I think, between the two. Angie, I know that you had a bunch of curiosity around some of this innovation around transformation that Stacy has led. As everybody knows, you're the brains behind this operation, and your ability to think about these really innovative solutions that folks can figure out to hard business problems and then turn those into a really kick-ass product that can get used over and over and over again. So I know that when we were talking about Stacy, you immediately were like, oh, she's doing some awesome stuff.
Stacy, I was so excited to be able to talk to you today. I feel like everyone at Luma sings praises of your work and how you push us to do better, honestly. And now you're coming in your advising era to help us get to the next level. So I'd really like to talk about like staff shortages, funding uncertainty. This is something that's in the air happening like right now, every day, but it's something that you've probably lived and experienced over your decades of experience as well. So can you talk a little bit about that?
These kinds of challenges are not new in healthcare. What's changing really in healthcare is that the pressure is increasing at an exponential rate. And it's really all around the financials. Margins are getting thinner, not that they were ever big to start with in healthcare. Margins are getting smaller, reimbursement is getting cut, and patients are getting sicker. Our population is aging and requiring more care. And the economics of our healthcare environment aren't such that they motivate us to intervene and keep patients healthy. The best way we can solve the current problems are to take care of patients once they're already sick, which is expensive. It's not good for patients. It's not good for families, not good for our communities, but it's really a difficult dynamic. And that's the environment that we're in. It used to be, 10 years ago, we would be off of our budget target. So we would look at, okay, let's increase our revenue. Can we see 5 more patients a session? And will that get us back on track when you extrapolate that over, across the huge healthcare system? Can we eliminate or not hire back 2 or 3 vacant positions in each of our areas? But now we've done all of those things, right? We've kind of exhausted the bag of tricks. It's empty. And now what we have to do is look for non-human ways to accomplish the work. Look for ways to reduce the human effort it takes to automate things and make things easier.
Got it. And I imagine this is like a double-edged sword. Like patients are sicker, they need to see you, but we can't support them and we don't know where to support them either. And like the more they come in, the more you want to help them, the more work it is internally for your team to have to do. So like, how do you ever get ahead of this? I feel like there are some solutions with like automating like faxes, automating referral creation so that your staff doesn't have to call people. And what does that look like in your experience?
I think all of those are great opportunities and things that we're starting to see a lot of interest around. And before I even dig in, would just say that these concepts, these individual use cases for automation are things that we thought in healthcare were once like unsolvable, right? That we never imagined we could actually automate some of these things. And so we haven't even really looked at them. It's just the way we've always done it. And so what we're finding now.
Stacey,
Oh
hold on.
yeah, Dave,
Why?
go ahead.
Why? Why is it because the health system's monolith EHR typically runs the show? Why? I mean, my experience is
No, it's a great
in healthcare,
question.
it's the brightest minds, it's the most innovative thinkers, and there's this altruism that everybody has. So why would that be though?
I can tell you what my gut is. I think it's a couple of things. I think one is it's scary. Still, the idea of automation and having a program or a script or AI technology do something that a human used to do when we're talking about the health and well-being of patients is scary. And so I think in a lot of cases, we just haven't even dug in. It's just been very surface level, like, yeah, I'm not sure I want to go there. And for health systems, right, the level of risk is high. Certainly patient care risk, but also the legal and compliance risks that are associated with some of these things. So I think there's a lot of the atmosphere around it is scary that I don't think we've really dug in. I think the other big reason is that we are in healthcare, we're just trying to survive. We're heads down, coming in every day just with our shovels and trying to dig out. And it's tough to come up for air and look around, right? Do some stretches and go, can I imagine a different path forward from here? Which is what we need to do. And we're starting to see more organizations wanting to have those discussions, but it has to be intentional because human behavior, our default is survival. And that's where we've been, and that's what's happening. We're starting to see that shift.
I feel like when you're in the trenches and it's hard to come up for air, even throwing something in like, hey, there's this new shiny product that can do all of this for you. It's like, ugh, what's the work I'm going to have to put onto it to make it work? Like, am I going to drop all of these other things that are happening in the background? But that said, there's this layer of like complexity and risk where like humans are working on this every day. We don't want to automate the system because there's risk. Things can go wrong. But how much of that, I feel like we're in this really shift in healthcare and technology right now where like humans are humans. We make mistakes every day as well. Like how much of human error can be resolved from a machine versus vice versa? Like how do you view this and how do you think our health systems are thinking about this today?
I think along those lines, we are now starting to at least have some ears perk up of like, wait a minute, maybe there is something out there that we could consider. But that initial gut reaction, you hit the nail on the head, is like, I've got to find and or dedicate IT resources to even like research this, get it through architecture review, get it configured, tested, right? We all know what that process looks like. And that just becomes another perceived, whether it's real or not, a hurdle to kind of moving forward with that. And where we're seeing a lot of interest in engagement and progress is not just saying, hey, we've got this new shiny thing over here that we think can help with this problem, but actually showing how it can solve the problem, having deep conversation about what the problem really is, right? And, just a quick example, someone could say, well, we've got this problem with this work queue in our EHR, and we don't have enough staff to like make all these outbound phone calls. We can never get through it. These patients need to be scheduled for mammograms or you name it. And that's a real life example. It exists in every healthcare system across the country. That is happening. For us to have a conversation about, well, is that really the problem? Is the problem the work queue? Or let's take it upstream. Why is that occurring? And why can you not get to these? When is it occurring? What is the quantity? What does your world look like if that gets resolved? So one of the things we're starting to do, and I'm totally loving about my advisor era, I love that, I'm going to use it now, is really helping shed light on the possibilities of digging your way out of this using automation.
On this point, you presented this idea of being able to do things both quickly, but also efficiently. We tend to want to boil the ocean. And we tend to try to find solutions that scale the entire enterprise. Tell us a little bit about why that was important to you, how you really led Luma into this concept of trying to develop a more flexible solution that could interpret the needs of the business specific to a referral.
The approach that we took and that I'm sharing with others and encouraging them to do is saying, okay, let's understand our business. Let's understand what these problems are. There's usually more than one. And then let's understand what's the impact if we solve each one of these. And understanding that then helps us look at potential solutions. And in our case, at University Hospitals, we worked with Luma to say, okay, how can we select a partner that can help us, whether it's now or in the near or maybe not so near future, solve multiple problems along kind of our total patient experience trajectory. And it is important. And this, when we go back to kind of where we started the conversation, and healthcare in and of itself is struggling because of these thin margins, and everyone's looking to reduce cost and increase revenue where they can. One way to do that is vendor consolidation. And so it's no longer a matter of, when to or how or whether we should or if we do these things. You have to. It's an imperative. Every health system is looking at their tech stack now and saying, how do we consolidate, but also get the most value out of these tools? And so at UH, one of the things we focused on were referrals, right? It's one of those work queues that we know that it grows every day by the thousands. And a lot of times takes manual outreach until you automate it to connect with those patients to get them scheduled. And so we wanted to look for a solution, a platform, a partner, pick an adjective that could help us with that as well as other things. And so thinking about our referral process, we didn't want to just automate a single outreach. we wanted to automate multiple touches with those patients. We wanted to get that information back into our EHR. So it was really, Luma became an extension of our EHR, an extension of our own human resources. And then we ended up with doing 5 attempts over about 10 business days. And only then did a human resource touch those referrals and make an attempt out to the patients. And that saved us tremendous time. And in fact, when we first implemented it, we had to call our account team. I remember talking to Mike Bodner and saying, 911, you have to stop sending the referral messages.
That is perfect what I wanted to ask you, only because I've been running into cases where I want to automate stuff and they're like, we can't because 20,000 notifications are going to shoot off to our providers immediately. And so even cases like this, it's great referrals are scheduling, it's great patients are calling in, but then your internal clinical team is probably like, what the heck?
Now you created a different problem. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah. So it sounds like there are lots of things happening here. But it does sound like at the end of the day, there might be some pain in the beginning and people like, slow down the horse. But eventually they're like, okay, this is super easy. We get it. This is really saving our lives.
No,
and then now you have time
Angie,
to focus on.
Yeah, that was the best problem we could have asked for, right? Is to have patients calling wanting to see us.
Yeah.
Like, there's your extra revenue, finance team, that you've been looking for. Now we don't have to cut an FTE. No, it was beautiful. And what that forced us to do is say, okay, now how do we deal with this issue? And what we did was we ticket enabled as many things as we could. And then those messages go out and typically don't generate a phone call. So let those rip. And that was brilliant. That was a huge help. And then those where we do need patients to call us, things that maybe we have to do some screening for, or we need to have a conversation about authorization, et cetera. Then we had a solution in partnership with Luma to kind of scale those throughout the day so that it wasn't, 20,000 all at once. And these are some of the topics though that are popping up, Angie, and I'm so glad we're talking about it. I'm working with a current Luma customer now who wants to automate more of this kind of outreach, but now they're looking at their schedule templates and I'm actually helping them with that, right? And they're saying, okay, we want to do this, but in order to allow patients to self-schedule, right, now we've got to make sure our templates are created appropriately so it doesn't create chaos. So it's a kind of a domino effect. And no one said automation is easy, right? But once you do the foundation, once you create that strong foundation, the opportunity is exponential.
Stacy, I know that you've shared a couple of common workflows where access and clinical a little bit, had to share the baton from scheduling into an appointment and to maybe just educate the rest of us on how Workflow Builder addressed this really big operational problem that most health systems could never get to because they were just trying to survive.
Yeah. I think there's kind of 2 big use case buckets with Workflow Builder that I'm really excited and passionate about. The first, and I'll probably get in trouble from our internal marketing team.
Welcome to the party.
But when I saw it, I said, we should name this thing Ticketmaster because one really exciting use case for Workflow Builder is to actually tie into the work queues inside of the EHR, use that as a trigger and automate that communication out to the patient. It can be customized based on the type of outreach that needs to happen, based on the type of order or referral it is. I mean, beautiful. So that referral kind of example I was talking about at UH, we didn't have Workflow Builder then. And we used other Luma functionality for that. But now Workflow Builder can serve that purpose. And the best thing I think about it is, earlier we talked about the IT resource constraint. That's really a non-issue with Workflow Builder because depending on the organization, right, you can train an administrator, a manager, any other kind of leader and give them access to go in and actually create these on the fly for the organization. Of course, Luma can help and coach and all of those good things, but you don't need an epic IT analyst to create these workflows, which I think is a huge win and removes a big barrier for a lot of health systems. So one is like take all these work queues that are ticket enabled and like get the stuff out to the patients and let them schedule. The other one is really this space in between a procedure being scheduled and the procedure actually happening. And so the example I like to talk about is colonoscopy, where now we've got a colonoscopy scheduled and we can create this
My favorite
workflow.
subject.
Everybody loves it. Who doesn't want a colonoscopy? I think everyone should, when this podcast is over, go
You
ahead
need
and
one,
schedule.
Angie. This is real. You need one.
I've never had one.
Seriously, this is anyway. Go ahead, Stacy.
I'm going to give you an overview of like
no,
what
this
you
is a big
like
thing.
what you can expect.
No, this is a big thing though. People under 50 are now they're learning all of this science that
I need 30 grams of fiber per day.
all right. Well, all right, Stacy, this is what happens normally. All right, walk us back through here. So,
hey, this is an important topic, right? Nobody really wants to talk about it, but we all know we need to be doing it. So,
yes.
Okay, so you have a colonoscopy schedule. We're going to schedule one for Angie. And then she's going to get a message about 3 days before her scheduled appointment saying, did you pick up your prep from the pharmacy? So the prep is this amazing, tasty beverage you need to drink that will help prepare your digestive tract to get the procedure so that the doctors can see everything nice and clear. But it's super important. If the patient doesn't do the prep, how they're supposed to and when they're supposed to, they cannot have the procedure, right? And so this is a black box and a huge pain point in most organizations because typically you don't find out that the patient didn't do what they needed to do until they arrive for their colonoscopy and haven't done it and can't get it, or they don't show up. And these are really expensive appointments to be wasted, right? You've got anesthesia involved, you get a little twilight, right? It's usually in a hospital or a procedure kind of setting. So very high dollar overhead to have a no-show. So this workflow, 3 days before, did you pick up your prep? If you say yes, we say, great, we look forward to seeing you. Remember, you need to start it 24 hours before your appointment. If you say no, right, then this is all automated. It's beautiful. Then you get a message saying, do you have any questions or concerns? Would you like us to reach out to you? Are you going to pick up your prep, right? These are all options. And that can also send a message within the EHR to the appropriate care team or care team member saying, we're not so sure about Angie. She didn't pick up her prep. Someone might need to reach out to her, right? And so we're taking the mystery out and providing this information to the patient. Okay, then fast forward 1 day before. Did you start your prep? Yes or no? Same kind of scenario, right? Where the answers and the responses to you, Angie, would be dynamic based on what you said. If you say, no, I didn't start it, then we know right now that you need to reschedule your colonoscopy.
And all of this, Stacy, is using all of the epic resources they know and love. Hello World, it's using the APIs, it's using MyChart. And so it's really orchestrating this very specific use case.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a great point, Dave. It's accessing all of the information you already have, and it becomes, I think Workflow Builder is like the connective tissue that's kind of putting all of these things together to create this amazing experience for the patient and an amazing outcome for the health system while saving the staff time and energy on these kind of mundane or routine tasks and conserving them, kind of reclaiming that time to talk to the patients like Angie, who's nervous, have never done this before, and would really like to just talk to someone. So super excited about it. That's just one example.
And I would like to talk to someone.
This episode is brought to you by Luma Health. Luma's Workflow Builder is an AI native automation tool that helps your staff create and manage workflows without the need for coding. Instead, you have building blocks with deep integration with EHR API, Luma's data, HL7, and more. It's like a superpowered drag and drop for building sequences on steroids. And it's all automated, which means that as you're using Workflow Builder to recapture no-shows, run vaccination campaigns, or even deal with your order backlog, your staff can say, "Look, Ma, no hands."
So, Stacy, it used to be kind of finger pointing between the clinical teams and the access team. And what I think is really amazing about what you're describing with Workflow Builder is the ability to make both teams winners in this equation. So can you speak for just 30 seconds about, number one, why that's hard, why it's really valuable to solve, and maybe for the audience who's never seen Workflow Builder, why that particular tool is such a cool tool to address that problem?
Yeah. So I think the easiest example on this one would be, a patient is seen in the ED or is admitted for some acute issue and they're discharged, maybe with a new diagnosis. Maybe it's congestive heart failure. Maybe there's a complication with diabetes. And this is typically an area where it's like this, whose job is it? It's me. No, it's you. Who's going to schedule that patient for that appointment within 7 days? We know that that's critical to ensure that they get the care they need and to avoid that patient being readmitted for a complication. And so what should happen is the patient should have that appointment when they leave the hospital. And in many cases, I would say most cases, they do not. Resourcing, I mean, you name the reason. We can automate that. We can say this patient, we look in the EHR with Workflow Builder and say the trigger is we're starting the discharge process. We can send the patient a message with a link to schedule their own appointment while they're still in the hospital bed before they leave, right? We don't have to solve the problem of whose job is it. Let it be the patient. Let the patient do it. They want to. They're invested in their own care. So that's kind of the first step in that process. And then being able to follow through with the communication if they haven't scheduled, making sure they're coming to that visit with the reminders, etc. And so where we don't do this well, these patients readmit, and everyone knows what those frequently readmitted issues are. It's a huge loss of revenue for the health system, a cost actually, and it's not good for the patients. They get sicker, right? So that's another way you could use Workflow Builder.
And all of this builds right on top of everything they have with Epic.
Yes, yes.
Which is ultimately why when you saw this, you were like, this right here is what every health system needs and should be doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not. Yeah. It's not replacing my chart, right? It's not replacing Care Companion or any of the care journeys you might already be using. It's a complement. It's connecting. It's reaching out to the patients proactively. We can even include links to go back to my chart if you want to direct the patient back to my chart in this process. But it's really meeting patients where they are, which is what I've been saying my goal is for probably the last 10 years. And where patients are is on their phone and in text messages.
Yeah.
And this takes all of those capabilities, automates it, and delivers it to the patient when and where they are.
Amazing. Well, now you're going to have to suffer through rapid fire questions.
With me. It's not suffering.
All right. Okay, I'm ready.
Yay, take a little stretch. We like to end our show with just like, let's lighten the mood. Let's talk about fun things again. Not that healthcare isn't fun, but it's a lot of problems and solutioning that we do in real time.
There's more problems than solutions right now. So yeah, we can say it's not fun.
That's okay. But I'd love to end this with our quick rapid fire. So I'm just going to shoot some questions over at you. Say the first one that pops into your mind. First question, favorite New Kids on the Block song?
Oh my gosh.
I did this on purpose.
Please don't go, girl. Joey McIntyre. He was like 8 years old. It's old. It's old. It's a classic. Okay.
If you had an intro song, you're coming into a healthcare conference, what would that intro song be?
Eye of the Tiger.
Oh. Love that. What about your last meal on earth?
Giordano's deep dish pizza with pepperoni and sausage.
Hell yeah. What's your favorite way to spend a weekend?
Ooh, by the pool with my kids and a margarita.
Love. What's like the first app you open in the morning?
LinkedIn, actually.
Busy, always. Always on the grind, Stacy.
Lord, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Actually, don't think I've ever done karaoke. Do you believe that?
That will have to change.
Okay. I know I'm ready. I was in dance and
maybe easy
vocal. Yeah.
What book are you reading right now?
If you count the Elephant and Piggy books, the series I'm reading to my kids, we are working on all of those. I think there's 25.
Lastly, you have twins.
Yes.
If one of them had to be president and one had to be vice president,
You already know.
I do know. We've had this discussion. This has been a very important family topic. My daughter, Lily Teresa Porter, will be president. And my son, who's just 1 minute younger than her, Noah Frederick Porter, will happily serve as her vice president. And both of them will only do it if mommy can live in the White House, which I've agreed to. So
somehow I think that would happen.
Yeah, 1000%.
Oh, goodness. Stacy, thank you. This has
Thank
been
you so much.
educational.
this is super fun. Thank you.
Hard-hitting.
I'm grateful for the work your team is doing and bringing to the industry. We need all the help we can get in healthcare and to help keep our patient population healthy. It's a tough job. It takes everyone.
Indeed. Okay, fam, we out.